The following is a special video presentation from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. You are watching RJ Debates 2020. Here is your host, Victor Jakes.
Hello, I'm Victor Jakes. Welcome to the Las Vegas Review-Journal's Nevada Judicial Debate Series. Today's debate is between the two candidates running in the general election for Clark County Family Court Department T. They are Nadin Cutter and Jason Stoffel. The current incumbent is retiring. We'll start by giving each candidate 1 minute to make an opening statement. Nadin, go ahead.
Hi, everybody, and thank you to the Review Journal and to Victor for allowing us to have this important debate to speak to the voters like you. My name's Nadin Cutter. There's two T's in Cutter, and I'm running in Department T. This is absolutely what I do. When I mean what I do, I mean family law, divorce and custody cases. I really want to help children. It's my favorite part of my job, and I enjoy finding solutions for children and families moving forward as their attorney today. I'd like to do that for more children as a judge. Moreover, I have 26% more experience on more cases than my opponent. Additionally, I have strong bipartisan support. 47 organizations have endorsed me, and my opponent has a malpractice case where his client had to pay $27,000 to his ex-wife at the age of 69, and I don't have any of those issues. He hurt his client financially. Moreover, I don't think that the voters of Clark County should vote for somebody that had a bar quarrel with the sitting judge.
Thank you, Nadine. We appreciate it. Jason, 1 minute for an opening statement.
Sure. My name is Jason Stoffel. I have 16 years of family law experience, and I mean that, family law experience. I've been doing this since day one when I started practicing law in 2005. I also own my own law firm, Robert Stoffel Family Law Group. I've owned and operated that with my wife, attorney Amanda Roberts, for 10 years. I'm pretty proud of that. I also go to the Family Law Convention each and every year at the State Bar Convention, which is now in Bishop, California. Last year, I was the Clark County Bar Association president. I was elected by my peers based on skill, integrity, and experience. I was a truancy diversion judge for 6 years, helping the people of Clark County. Also pro tem judge, City of Las Vegas, since 2017, small claims, landlord-tenant disputes, and so forth. I also won the primary election, 46.2% of the vote. The Clark County, they got it right. I had 36,000 more votes than Ms. Cutter, and that's what I want to know, everyone to know. Please vote for me, Jason Stoffel, Family Court Judge, Department T. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Nadine, you'll get the first question. Divorces and custody cases are a big part of family court, as you know, and they frequently involve emotional disputes. Will you describe your thought process for resolving these conflicts and how you balance the needs of children with the rights of parents?
I love that question. Thank you, Victor. Family court is a very emotional place, and there's a lot of ways to put tools in parties' hands, whether it's a divorce or a custody case, where they can be empowered to help get the result that they actually want, that they find best for their children. Some of those resources are the Family Mediation Center, which has very, very low cost. Sometimes it's free if your income is low enough. There's senior court settlement judges that try to settle cases for people. Also, our sitting judges will make their time available to help settle cases. I think anytime you can take trial away from people and empower people to get their own results, that's the best way to get the emotion out of it and help a child and a family move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadine. Jason, same question. Will you give us your thought process for overseeing a divorce in a custody case?
Well, there's a lot of ways to handle a divorce or custody case. The first way, as Nadine said, is in mediation. That's helpful to have that through the Family Mediation Center. I think as a district court judge in the family division, you want to see people, if possible, resolve their disputes, but also balance the rights of not only the litigants, but as their children as well. Children, I think, in all appropriate situations, do have a right to be heard. They can do that through different therapists with different protocol or child interviews at the mediation center. You don't want to involve children directly in litigation, but certainly children should be heard, and there's ways to resolve cases beyond a trial to save people money. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Jason, you'll get the first crack at this one. What is one deficiency you see in the family court system, and what would you do to fix it if you are elected?
Easy, efficiency. There are too many cases in family court right now that have dragged on forever and ever. I have one right now. It started on my wedding anniversary, Victor. It started April 26, 2018. I'm on day, I think, 17 or 18 of trial. Waiting 2.5 years for a final decision is ridiculous. Luckily, that's with a retiring judge, not the current Department T judge. someone else. So efficiency is not something that you can ignore. Courts can do minute orders or they can do decisions much quicker. It should not take more than 30 to 60 days in most cases to do a trial decision, but certainly when you have trial dates set, use them. Don't let people go over and set a 5-day trial and make it a 21-day trial. Stick with your guns, efficiency, we need that in family court.
Thank you very much, Jason. Nadine, same question for you. What's something you'd like to change if you are elected?
Thank you for that question, Victor. I would like to change getting people to put their heads together and try to make a solution first and really, really try hard with that. Our Family Mediation Center allows us to do that. Also, I'm concerned when you ask the question as well about access to justice. I think there's a lot of resources available to people. They can have free consultations with attorneys. They can go to the senior settlement program. They can try to work it out between themselves. There's so many different ways to skin a cat. And I think the more that can be accomplished before somebody goes to trial, the happier those people are. And I really believe in that.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Stick with us. Our judicial debate will continue in just a moment.
All your listeners and followers, the best name of any podcast in the world is podcast.
Nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever faked
Not that we
their
know
death.
of.
No.
When you work with Prince, you got to get used to the fact that he changes musicians like underwear. You know, like
Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, he's a quarterback in the Boston area.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Get ready for every Raiders game with us. Vegas Nation Game Day will give you everything you need to know about each week's matchup.
I'm excited.
Sundays at 9 a.m. starting in September on Your View. Vegas Nation Game Day coming this September.
You're watching the Judicial General Election debate for Family Court Department T. It's part of an ongoing series of debates produced by the Las Vegas Review-Journal to inform local voters about these important races. Nadine, the Southern Nevada Disciplinary Board publicly reprimanded you twice in 2017. In one instance, you didn't adequately review the court docket, it said, and weren't familiar with the rules. In another instance, you didn't send monthly billing statements to a client, which resulted in a financial harm to a client. Those instances occurred only a few years ago. Why should voters promote you to being a judge when you couldn't follow the rules of being a lawyer?
Thank you for that question, Victor. I appreciate the opportunity. I think one of the most important things for being a judge is having humility. And I think having a feather in my cap like that allows me to take a look at myself and say, you know, I learned a lot from that situation. In one situation, a court wanted a stipulation in order to dismiss in June, and the court got it in July. Interestingly, my client was very, very, very happy with me in that particular case. He actually wrote a letter of recommendation for me on that case. So there was no harm to my client, the doctor, in that matter whatsoever. And I think that, you know, learning and experiencing something difficult like that actually makes me a better judicial candidate, because it makes me take those rules more seriously. It makes me understand them better. And it really puts me in the seat where I need to be, taking a look at everything. And I own my mistake. I absolutely own my mistake. And I think I've learned a ton from it.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Jason, in 2014, you threatened to sue the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this newspaper, after a columnist criticized one of your friends in an organization called Veterans in Politics. Why should voters elect someone who threatens to sue newspapers for exercising their First Amendment rights?
It was a mistake. It's one of those things back in 2014. Sometimes you hang around some bad people, and I don't certainly anymore. The individual means absolutely nothing to me. The way the comment was written by one of your editors was written in such a harsh and demeaning way. I don't think that all the facts were there. And I think the facts, if they were there, it would have been a better article. So it's one of those things that I thought that it would have been helpful to have more information, to have a more accurate column. And it wasn't. So it's one of those things. And as Ms. Cutter said, there's things we've done in life that we regret. And that's one of my regrets. But it is what it is, old news. Jason 2.0 running for judge in 2020 is a much better candidate with now 16 years experience versus Ken.
Thank you, Jason. I got another question. On your website, you write that the people of Clark County deserve judges who practice fairness, possess ethics, and have a judicial temperament. 6 years ago, you were involved in an altercation at a bar involving your then political opponent, Judge Vincent Ochoa. Do you have that judicial temperament?
Absolutely, I do. It was one of those things that, as the record indicated, with a follow-up involvement with a hearing, I didn't start anything, and it's old news. Judge Vincent Ochoa and I were very friendly. I have no dog in the fight with any of that things, and it's one of those things that never should have happened, and it involved comments made by veterans in politics that I can't control, and then the Review Journal just took that story and ran with it. So it is what it is, and it wasn't my time in 2014. 2020 is now my time.
Thank you, Jason. Nadine, another question for you. A profile in Las Vegas Women described you as an, quote, aggressive attorney, end quote. Your campaign website is filled with similar phrasing such as, quote, being passionate about getting a knockout win, end quote, for your clients. If you have so much zeal for winning, aren't you more suited to being a lawyer than a judge?
I appreciate that question. And I think anybody that knows me, and there's a lot of people that do, because I've been in Las Vegas for about 33 years at this point. Everybody knows I'm a passionate person, a passionate woman, a passionate attorney. And I think that I will take that passion to the bench, to the other side of the bench, and display that passion in trying to help find solutions for children. Like I said in my opening, I love finding solutions for kids. Perfect example is an addicted parent versus a non-addicted parent. There are ways for kids to feel safe and happy and healthy in a situation where mom or dad has a bad addiction and they spend time with that child in a safe way. Those are the kind of cases that I really enjoy and I revel in. So I think that passion is a good thing. I think being an apathetic person would be far worse for the voters of Clark County.
Thank you, Nadine. Nadine, this question is for you as well. Obviously, you think you're the best candidate for this seat. Do you think your opponent lacks either the qualifications or the temperament necessary to serve effectively as a family court judge?
That's a tough one for me to answer, Victor, because I knew Jason before we were opponents and I was very friendly with Jason. Unfortunately, I think he does the same thing in this race that he did with the sitting Judge Ochoa, and he is a negative Nelly. And there are so many races of my colleagues where the candidates build each other up, support each other. Some are having medical difficulties and they support each other. My opponent has been negative since October of 2019. And I think that his judicial temperament would be a challenge because that's what I've heard from everybody that tries to tell me anything. And I've really tried to maintain a positive campaign and a positive attitude and focus on what I could do for the community. I'm the only candidate endorsed by 47 organizations. That includes fire, police, labor, and veterans. The number today is 47.
Thank you, Nadine. Jason, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond to that before I ask you the same question. Are you a negative Nelly? Would that make you ill-suited to be on the bench?
No, not at all. It's just, you have to call it as you see it. When I was choosing which judicial department I was looking at, I knew I wasn't going for the 6 newly created ones. I figured they'd have the most candidates. I looked at the 4 retiring judges, and I felt that even with Judge Brown retiring, I did feel a change was needed. But when I looked at that and looked at my opponent, looked at years of experience, you have to look at that. You can't buy experience. You have to have it or you don't. 16 years is a long time. I owe it to the voters to essentially, I'd say it's a professional attack, but it's not a negative thing. It's basically saying, you should vote for me for these reasons and don't vote for my opponent for these reasons.
Thank you, Jason. I'm going to kind of build on that question. So do you think that Nadine would not have the qualifications or temperament necessary to serve effectively if she was elected?
Beyond some of the things with the State Bar of Nevada and the Supreme Court of Nevada and a federal judge, I think a learning curve. I know I became a much better attorney from 2014, which evidently I was not ready until 2020, doing multi 10, 15, 20-day trials, big depositions, big termination of parental rights, cases. Experience is gained, and I think in my situation, like double the experience the last 6 years. That's why there's no question I was going to run in 2020, and I just picked a seat that I think would be the most appropriate one.
Thank you, Jason. Nadine, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond to that. Do you need more experience before you're elected?
I love that you asked that question, Victor. So Jason focuses frequently on 16, and my number is 13. What is interesting is I actually have 26% more experience than my opponent on actual cases in family court. That's not including the cases that I handle in other courts, like business court. I think it's very helpful for a divorcing couple or a couple with a custody issue to have an attorney that has business knowledge. If the voters go to the public access website, the voters can see I've handled 26% more cases than my opponent in the family court in less amount of time.
Thank you, Nadine. And stick with us. This debate will continue right after these messages.
With so much excitement building around the Raiders and their inaugural season in Las Vegas, the fans want to be heard. The launch of Vegas Nation Fan Zone is their answer. That's right, Raiders fans can sound off on all things Raiders, from players to coaches to even the new Allegiant Stadium. Vegas Nation Fan Zone is accessible 24/7 and allows fans to generate and upload their own posts for lively interaction. Simply go to fanzone.vegasnation.com to sign up today.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. You're watching the judicial debate for Department T in family court. Jason, this question is going to be for you. Sure. Is it more important for a judge to enter the courtroom ready to make a decision, which speeds things along, and as we talked about, that's important, or to be open to persuasion during oral arguments, which can cause a delay in issuing a judgment?
I would say initially, when you have oral argument, your mind is pretty much made up at that point. I would be open to persuasion. But one of my favorite judges that appears as a senior judge is Jerry Hardcastle. And when you go into that department, when he fills in, he'll say, I've read it, anything else? Your mind kind of has to be made up, but there is some room for gray area. I will ask, if I was the judge, clarify this. This is the gray area. Convince me why this should be ruled on this particular way. But I do think that the facts should be there and a decision should be made. There you go.
Thank you, Jason. Nadine, what about you? What's your thought process on approaching oral arguments?
Thank you for that question, Victor. I'd like to tell the voters of Clark County that my mind will not be made up before they have a chance to open their mouths, because they have a voice. And so many times in my legal career, there's a little tap on the shoulder of a client that's dying to say something. And that has value. As a judge, swearing parties in and saying, you know, what is your position on this hot button issue and what is your position on this hot button issue, that can be very helpful, very, very helpful. So my mind will not be made up when I step into the courtroom. Instead, my mind will be open. I will be listening. I will be waiting to hear things that I am looking for from each of the parties. And most importantly, I want to give everybody an opportunity to have a voice. I think as an attorney, it's not just about the pleadings, it's about what people have to say in the moment on the hot seat.
Thank you, Nadine. And Nadine, would you name a judge on the bench that you think is doing a good job and a specific characteristic of theirs that you would like to emulate if elected?
Yes, I can think of two, and they would be Susan Johnson and Bonnie Beulah. I think that they have very great careers. I think they are very well liked. They have high ratings with the attorneys that vote for them. And I think that I would like to emulate their level of knowledge, professionalism, decorum, respect, and how they handle their courtroom. I've seen them do many things, and it's impressive. Those two women are impressive.
Thank you, Nadine. Jason, same question for you. Who's the judge who's doing a good job, and what's something that they do that you would like to do if elected?
Well, many are doing a good job, but I would say two that I know they're doing an excellent job. Again, Senior Judge Jerry Hardcastle. He moves cases along. Those 5 words, I've read it, anything else. Your mind isn't necessarily made up, end of story, but you're leaning one way after reviewing the pleadings. Another current judge is Judge Bill Henderson. He is one of the best judges on the bench. He knows the facts. You go in there prepared, ready to go, and you know that the decision that is made, whether you like it or not, he sees it the way he sees it by reading everything. He's prepared. That's what you want for a judge, and that's what you get in Department T when I'm the next judge.
Thank you, Jason. Jason, a quick question. I've only got 30 seconds for this one. If you are elected, what do you want your legacy to be as a judge?
Fair. a judge that looks at everything, reads everything, gives people an opportunity to be heard, and especially people that do not have money for private counsel or an attorney. I don't want to have the appearance that the deck is stacked, that you walk in there without an attorney, you're not going to win, end of story. Everyone gets their day in court, but you rely heavily on the pleadings. That's what you do. I don't want to learn anything new necessarily at the time of a hearing, but fairness is where it's at in Department T.
Thank you very much, Jason. Nadine, what about you? What kind of legacy would you like to leave as a judge?
I want to get potentially a little list of updates throughout the years from families that come before me in court and say, you know what, Judge Cutter, you made a difference in my daughter's life or in my son's life, and here's how. I think those stories to any sitting judge they're just so valuable, Victor. And I think that that's why I want to do this. That's why I want to be a judge. I want to hear stories about sons and daughters having a better life, having a healthier life.
Thank you.
Having a happier life.
Thank you very much, Nadine. And we'll be back with our final segment and closing statements in just a moment.
The Vegas Nation podcast is your source for all your Las Vegas Raiders news. Subscribe and get fast takes and smart coverage. Download the Vegas Nation app, check out vegasnation.com, and stay up to date with your Las Vegas Raiders.
Welcome back to our judicial debates. Nadine, this question is for you. What in your past demonstrates that you can treat everyone involved in legal proceedings with respect and courtesy?
That's a great question, Victor. Thank you. I think there have been many examples in my career where there's a difficult witness that you have to cross-examine, where there's a difficult party that, has even been restrained in court, in family court. And I think that as an attorney, dealing with those difficult people and those difficult situations has prepared me quite well for being the next judge in Department T. Moreover, I have 26% more cases under my belt than my opponent in less than
Thank you. Jason, same question for you. What in your past and your history demonstrates that you would treat those coming before you with respect?
Well, easy. I've already been a pro tem judge, City of Las Vegas. I've handled trials wearing a black robe as a judicial officer. My first hearing ever was a trial with a celebrity matchmaker service. So one had an attorney, one didn't. So it was helpful to go through and, apply the law, apply the facts, do the job that I was basically paid to do that particular day. So I appreciate that question.
Thank you, Jason. It's time for our closing statements. We're going to keep these at 45 seconds. Jason, we'll start with you.
Okay. Vote Jason Stoffel for Family Court Judge, Department T. I don't have junk math. There's 26% notion. I have way more experience than my opponent. I've been a family law attorney since 2005. She wasn't even in law school at the time. I also won the primary election. Don't forget that. I got the experience that we need. I got some of the endorsements, culinary, bartenders union, citizens for responsible government, and so forth. It's on my webpage. I've also never been sanctioned by any court. My opponent has. She is not electable. She alluded to that. We have a $2,000 sanction and attorney fees with a federal case by a federal judge, State Department of Nevada, 3 separate instances. Here's the proof on that. And the final thing is the Supreme Court of Nevada fined my opponent. That's unacceptable. Jason Stoffel for Judge, Family Court, Department T. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Nadine, 45 seconds.
Thank you so much. I think that there have been 47 organizations that have picked me to endorse in this race. To give you an overview, it's police, fire, labor, and veterans. There's a list of 47 that I'm happy to share with anybody that would like the list. I think that that's really, really important because these organizations have vetted both candidates and they have chosen to back my race. I think that I'm the best candidate for Department T because I have the proper judicial temperament. I think this debate speaks volumes to the voters and the voters can decide for themselves. But the proper judicial temperament is the most important thing that you want in a judge. I have humility and a proper judicial temperament. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadine. And thank you both for joining us. And thank you for watching this edition of Nevada Judicial Debates. Remember, you can find this program and more information on all the judicial races at reviewjournal.com. We'll see you next time.